I think these are all of them. Let's talk about the books that I read in January, shall we? Okay, these aren't all of them. I read quite a bit on Kindle and through Libby, through the library, but these are all of the ones that I have in the physical copy. So first of all, I do want to talk about some statistics because this year I have just found it very interesting to talk about statistics. Okay, so let me put these down and that way we can get to talking and not me worrying about this falling over. I'm gonna try to keep these in order. I don't think that they are. Okay. No. Everything is pretty much a mess, but that's kind of just my life, you know? It's my brand, if you will. So, let me pull up my laptop to pull up some of the data from this month. I've been tracking everything on Notion, and I've actually started to like do the average rating and stuff as well, so let's get into that. In January, I read 20 books, but 2 of those were DNFs, so 18 books completed, 2 books DNFs. My average rating for the month was 3.7. I'm gonna put all of the genres and like all of the numbers for that. I don't know the exact numbers and genres and split down, but it's gonna be up here. I thought that that was just interesting to look at. You guys let me know if you guys liked having those data and analytics. So let's just get straight into this. And some errands today, and I bought a new mug. Cheers. Let's get into reviewing some books. The first book that I read this year is actually the same first book that I read last year, and that is House of Sky and Breath. It actually just turned out that way that I finished my reread of this before I finished any other book this year. This one, like I said, is a reread, so I don't really want to like dive into it, especially since I have like a whole entire spoiler video of me reading this book for the first time on my channel, and I feel like I have talked everybody's ear off about any Sarah J Maas book, but especially these pretty recently. This is a 5 stars, was a 5 stars before the reread, is a 5 stars after the reread. I reread these books via audiobook and I absolutely loved the experience of that. I've put a lot more things in my brain, and just this was a joy to reread. I really have nothing else to say other than that. Next up, Who Is She? I read Atomic Habits. I feel like this is the epitome of like January, everybody reading like self-help books, how to better yourself. I actually was going to do a whole entire video kind of testing out the theory of this, but then I just kind of came to the conclusion that this book could definitely just be like 5 sentences, and it was just so long, and I feel like I kind of already live my life the way that this is kind of structured to tell you how to live, to like help you instill habits. And so I did abandon that video because I was just like, yeah, this just isn't working the way I want it to. But that's why I did read this. I think that this book can be helpful if you are wanting your life to look this way, you know what I mean? Like, not everybody's life has to look this way. I do think it is insightful. I think that the reasoning that it's so long is because he tries to back it up with, you know, like research and just like, you know, data analytics and stuff like that, which is, you know, valid. You know, you do, if you're going to claim that everybody should be living their life this way, you definitely need things to like back up why somebody should be living their life that way. Yeah, I just kind of came to the conclusion that I live my life that way, so if that's, you know, positive for me, I guess this book is a plus. But I don't think that this book is one of those harmful self-help books. Sometimes I try to stay away from self-help books because I can feel like they're very, what's the word that I'm looking for right now? It can just be kind of scary to get somebody telling you that you're essentially living life the wrong way, is what some of these self-help books feel like. This one didn't feel like this. This one more felt like, if you're wanting to instill these habits, here are some things that you could do to help. So I don't rate nonfiction anything. I don't give a rating on it because I just kind of feel like it's unfair. So anyway, read that this month. The next 7 books I read in this video were I read the best books of 2023, but this one was definitely the hands down winner of like one of the, if not the best book of 2023 that I found, and that is Yellowface. I ended up rating this book a 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was so intriguing to me. You have the main character June, and basically her and Athena are both authors, but Athena is wildly more successful than her, and there's a lot of jealousy between them, but just kind of on June's side. Something happens. June then takes Athena's work and writes it and says that it is her own, but she took it from Athena, and you're basically following this, and it is kind of an exploration of the publishing industry, which I thought was extremely interesting to read, especially from an author's perspective. Definitely feels like seeing some behind the scenes of the unfairness of the publishing industry and the real truth and reality behind a lot of the stuff that goes on in the publishing world. Even just some of the like snippets of like authors putting their books out, and kind of like with what I do and like Twitter, you know, YouTube, Instagram, stuff like that, and like how they take a book and they critique it and stuff that goes out. It was such an interesting read. It was very twisty and turny, had you on the edge of your seat. The reason I didn't rate this a 5 stars was because there was a point kind of more towards the end, kind of in the middle, where I felt like things were kind of dragging on a little bit, and I did start to lose that momentum of interest that I had going. Just because of that, I felt like it didn't feel like a 5 stars to me, but it was still so good. I recommend this to everybody, even if this isn't your genre to go into. I feel like if you are a lover of books, this is a great book to read. Next up, I read The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. I think this was my first adult Lynn Painter book. I think I've just read the Do-Over and Better Than the Movies by her before. I would definitely read more of her adult romances. Does she have one? There's another one coming out this year. Does it come out this month? I need to check on that, but I think Mr. Wrong Number is the book that comes before this. I didn't read that, so I don't think you need to necessarily. I rated this a 3 stars. I just really enjoy Lynn Painter's romances. Very good palate cleansers, easy, simple reads. If you are a lover of rom-coms, I'm telling you, you are going to eat up Lynn Painter's writing. The reason I say that is because I feel like she not personifies. Where is the word that I'm looking for? I'm searching through my brain for the word that I'm trying to use to describe her writing. She captures the essence of a rom-com and puts it into words on paper in a book that you are then going to read with your eyes. But what I'm really trying to say is like the same feeling that you get when you watch like You've Got Mail or When Harry Met Sally or How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, like that banter between two characters and the feeling of a rom-com. She executes perfectly within her books that I get that same interchangeable feeling within both of those, and I love those because I do feel like when I pick up cute rom-coms like this, that is the feeling that I'm looking for. I feel like the reason that I didn't rate it a 5 stars is just because I really didn't care about the characters that much. Like I had such a good time while reading the book. It had all the, you know, typical rom-com tropes. It's friends to lovers, you know, and I really enjoyed it. It's just that when it came to the characters, I have not thought about them until I started talking about this book again. Next up, I read One Dark Window, and wow. I said this in the video that I read this in, but I almost feel like it's a little unfair because I don't think this book is bad. I rated it a 3 stars. I don't think it's bad. I actually really think that if you are somebody who wants to get into fantasy, that this would be a good one to go with because the magic system is very straightforward and simple. I feel like it just kind of like takes place in a kingdom with like little things of magic. Like the magic is not hard to understand at all. So I definitely recommend honestly this for people who want to get into fantasy. I feel like TikTok hype did it to me this time once again, where it's I always say it's a double-edged sword because when you do love a book, you want to hype it up and like tell everybody to read it. The thing that is the other half of it is that reading is so subjective and personal that just because even if it's like a big group of people really like the book doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to. And I don't know why I fall under the impression every single time that I'm just gonna love every single book that everybody else loves. It didn't happen with this. Like I said, it's a 3 stars, not a bad rating. I don't know how many times I have to say it. Every time I rate something a 3 star on Goodreads, I will just continue to get comments telling me, oh wow, I can't believe this book is horrible. And I'm like, you know, I'm just looking for who said that. Basically, with this book, I just felt like TikTok also really overhyped the romance. It feels the same as when I went and picked up The Cruel Prince. TikTok really focused in on the romance element of that book, and it is barely there. I feel like it's honestly a subplot in this book specifically as well. Not a big thing at all. I literally would not call this romantasy at all. Like, I'm just telling you guys, don't go in with those expectations. It's definitely not what it is. I found the world and storyline very intriguing. I thought the plot was very good, except I feel like everything was dragged out. Like, so much over detail and kind of just all of the scenes were dragged out where it just was not keeping my attention very well. I did really like the love interest though. I really loved the main character, and I love this other element that we have going on of a character that you learn about basically off the bat, but I don't want to say anything about, but I just really loved that character and their wittiness and kind of their like commentary on everything, and I really liked the kingdom and setting. Up next, I read 5 Survive, and this is one of those books. Do you guys ever have a book that's just been like sitting on your shelf and you look at and you'll put on your TBR for so many months and then you just never get to it, and then you finally read it and you're like, wow, This is one of those for me where I think I bought this like as soon as it came out, and I think this came out in 2022 actually. I thought it came out in 2023, but I'm pretty sure it came out in 2022. Yeah, 2022. And so I bought it and I just continued to never pick it up. And then right after 2023 was finished, or did this come out in 2023? Because it was in the best books of 2023 on Goodreads, and I thought only new releases could be in that. Basically, what I'm saying is that maybe that's when the copyright was set. Oh my god, why? Like, you guys don't care. I finally picked this book up and read it, and I gave it a 4.5 stars. If you go and watch my best books of 2023 video, or you watched it already, and you guys watched my reaction to the end of this book, it is crazy. I always say that Holly Jackson, if you are wanting like a mystery thriller, and if you look at Holly Jackson's books and you think, it's a YA, I just don't really feel like, you know, like obviously she's not going there, but I do feel like she walks that line of like, I can't believe that this is happening in a YA book. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like not super out there, but you're just like, I can't believe that somebody like this is happening in a young adult. That's like the best that I can explain it without getting into specifics. The plot of this one I really liked. At first, I was a little like turned away from the narrative in which you are in. The way that the story is being told, it's very sporadic. You're in the main person's mind, and it's very sporadic in there, okay? You're kind of like, ooh, what's going on? And then you'll get used to it, and it definitely helps the plot, and I feel like it has a purpose. And once I got used to it, I actually really liked that. I was on the edge of my seat. I was getting angry, upset, like all of these different emotions that I was running through. I love feeling when I'm reading, because I feel like the ultimate goal when you read books is to feel an emotion from them. You know, if you're just kind of reading a book and you're just like you're not even feeling anything inside, you don't even have to be like outwardly emotional, because usually most of the time, unless it's like how this book had me, I'm not outwardly emotional for most of the books that I read, but I'll feel it inside, and that's all that matters. I definitely felt it with this book. I just thought it was, I mean, such a fast read too. Like, I got through this book so quickly as well, and I would definitely recommend you guys pick this up. What did you do? Did you leave your house in the middle of the night? Oh. Okay, this is yet another book that I bought last January, and I read it exactly a year later after buying it, and that is Educated. This is a memoir, so again, just another reminder, it has no rating. I do think that this is the best memoir that I have ever read before my life. I listened to this via audiobook, and Julia Whelan, who I actually read her book this month, actually narrated it. Amazing narrator, absolutely love. But this memoir just had me just so enthralled, and I always say, you know, it's a good book for me personally when I go and tell like my family or people that do not read in my life. I like have to go and tell them about it. My boyfriend, my mom, my dad, my brother, like if I am outwardly telling them about a book that they definitely do not care about, and I'm just kind of talking at them about it, you know it's good, because I have to tell them. I did this with this so many times, telling my mom, oh my gosh, you can't believe that this is what happened. It is basically about Tara Westover in her life living in a Mormon family in the mountains, and she never went to school, and then she just randomly like goes to college. Basically are reading about her life, but the background always kind of falls back to the importance of education and different things that happened in her life, and kind of, I feel, having her education background that she did, how it affected her life in many different ways. And that was just absolutely extraordinary for me personally to read. I thought that it was an amazing story, heart-wrenching. It had my full attention, and I definitely recommend all of you guys to read this. I feel like it just really talks about, not even just like in an in-your-face way, which is why I loved it as well. It's definitely like you just understand how important education is, like how important having an education, how privileged it is to have an education. So I would definitely recommend picking this up. Now I'm going to quickly talk about my 2 DNFs of the month, because I actually DNF'd these books back to back, and that is Bright Young Women and Romantic Comedy. These are definitely hard DNFs. I don't foresee myself ever picking these back up again. I actually think I'm going to unhaul both of these, unfortunately. I just don't need them, you know? So we'll start with Bright Young Women. I just really felt like this book was so boring. I really did not like any of it. When it started off, I was intrigued for the first maybe like chapter or so, and then it quickly went away. It's kind of the same thing for Romantic Comedy. First of all, there's only 3 chapters in this book. I feel like that's kind of criminal. The character of this book was kind of insufferable to me. Just anything about this book I was not liking. Then we went into a sweet little swoon-worthy YA romance by Lynn Painter, Betting on You. This came out in November, right? right? Yeah, I had been reading this since November, like sparingly, very sparingly. I told you guys that I had actually been in a pretty big book slump from November to December, and that's right when I was doing Bookmas, so it was kind of hard as well to try to like navigate a book slump during that time, but I really gave myself a break from reading, so I was just picking this up in between if I felt like reading, and I ended up giving this a 4 stars. I've said it already, I'm not going to keep on re-saying it, but I feel that Lynn Painter does an amazing job, especially in her young adult romances. Better Than the Movies is like my favorite young adult romance I've ever read, and this one definitely comes very close to the top as well. The only reason that it wasn't a 4 stars was because I actually preferred them like when they were friends. Like I actually liked that dynamic a whole lot better than like them as a romantic couple. I almost like didn't believe it a little bit, which is weird to say that I love this young adult romance and then to say like, yeah, I did really like love their romance, but I loved them together. But then when you added like a true romantic element to it, I just kind of felt a little like, I don't know, but I did say that I feel like Lynn Painter in her young adult books, with this and Better Than the Movies, I feel like Lynn Painter very much encapsulate the feeling of being in a relationship in high school and like really falling for somebody when you are young and in high school, and you have all of these things going on like school and jobs and prom and dances and like all these different high school things, add in like home life things. It literally just, yeah, I feel like it encapsulates that so well. I ended up picking up Two Twisted Crowns because I already owned the duology, and it's just a duology, so I was like, might as well read the second book, and I might as well read it now while it's fresh in my brain. It got a 1/2 star better. It is 3.5 stars. It's like both a rant for this book, but also like I enjoyed it. You spin one dark window in one person's point of view, and it's the main character. And then in this book, you start getting like multiple different point of views, and you really focus on somebody who is not even the main character, I feel, of the series, and you focus on them for like the basic entirety of the book. I was just really confused by it because like the last book, it was just one main character, and then you throw this book in and there's just like a whole lot of characters, and then you're following this other storyline that kind of has nothing to do. I mean, it does have something to do, you know? Anyway, I really enjoyed that storyline, and I really loved the romance in that storyline, and I feel like that's why it's a 1/2 star better, was because of that point of view. This is what I mean with like, stop, don't even listen to me. Like, where's my credibility? Pick a side, babe. Truly pick a side. Again, I just kind of felt the same. I just felt very indifferent. I felt like a lot of things were just super dragged out in the book, so I didn't love it. So 3.5. I really don't have much else to say other than that. And then I read The Push. Okay, wow. I rated this book at 3.5 stars, but this book solidified all of my fears of anytime I think of like marriage and having children. These fears like come into my brain, and then I read it and I was like, this is a fictional story. This is a fictional story. I was just, all of my fears turned out on paper. This is kind of like a psychological fiction book, and for the most part, this woman, and you're following like at first, you know, like marriage and then having kids and kind of what this kid is doing, and you're just kind of like following this, and you really don't know how to feel about a single character in the book, and I love that. I love just not trusting anybody because it's so relatable. You know what I mean? Like, I already feel that day to day. Love feeling it in the books too. You don't trust anybody in this book, and you don't really like any specific character in the book. It's like one of those. Story, I feel like, does stick with you. It definitely kind of leaves you reeling a little bit afterwards. I don't particularly enjoy that feeling, but I do like when books make me feel an emotion, as I talked about The Five Survive, so I really do have to credit this book because I feel like this is what that book was seeking out to do. Then I picked up Dear Dolly, again another nonfiction. This is just a collection of advice columns essentially, where I think Dolly Alderton used to like do in a magazine, like run an advice column, and she basically took like her favorite ones from that and put it all in a book. So it's like advice on relationships, family, friendship, a bunch of other things. I don't rate it, but I just personally don't know if Dolly Alderton is for me. I do feel like she's very eloquent. I do feel like she's a very talented writer, and yeah. I read Shark Heart, I think, is the next one that I read. I ended up rating this one a 3.75, which is very specific, and I think I'm going to lower it to a 3.5 just to be less annoying, and I feel like more true. This book is going to be a very fast read for you. It does look thick, but like most of the pages are literally like this long. Like they're just like a paragraph and then you're done. This book is very metaphorical. This book is going to make you think, and it's very endearing. There's a lot of quotes that I really just found beautiful, and I think the writing was good. The reason that it's a 3.5 is because like the second half of the book, we go off on this tangent that I really could do without. Like, honestly, I really could do without it. Maybe it's just lost on me. Like I said, it's very metaphorical. Maybe that's just really lost on me, but I kind of felt like it was pointless. I feel like if this book would have been 100 pages shorter and really just focused on the couple, because basically the synopsis, and stick with me here, you're following a newlywed couple and in the span of 9 months, the guy turns into a great white shark. I read Thank You for Listening. I listened to this as an audiobook. Julia Whelan wrote this, and I told you guys earlier that Julia Whelan actually narrated Educated. She's so good. Like, if you guys go and listen to a Julia Whelan audiobook, even if you guys go listen to this, like her own book, and she narrates it, and she's so good at like voices and doing other voices. Like, she's so good at them. And it is very interesting to me because she wrote this kind of women's literary fiction about an audiobook narrator. And she is an audiobook narrator, so it kind of feels like maybe she's self-inserting a little bit. It kind of felt like that a little bit, but like I said, it's women's fiction. I rated this at 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. It was such a fun time. Like I said, this is more kind of like women's fiction in the same way that I say like Emily Henry's women's fiction with a subplot of romance. And to me, it did feel very reminiscent of an Emily Henry book. Well, I would say that I liked the main character, but then sometimes she just kind of did things that really freaking irritated me. Okay, Destiny, you get annoyed by literally like everything, so what doesn't annoy you at this point? You just made some like decisions, and even like within the romance, that you're just kind of looking at her and you're like, what? I just really enjoyed it, and I feel like it did a few of the like things that Book Lovers by Emily Henry did when they were talking about like romance tropes and just kind of like, you know, like poking fun at being inside of a book like that, and it did the same thing within this book. Just a really great time, really enjoyed it. Oh, I actually don't think I have a physical copy of any of the other books that I read. Okay, well then I read the next 3 books in the Eden series. I still have to read the last one. Didn't finish the last one. I started it and didn't finish it in time. But randomly, when I did my 24-hour readathon, I decided, hey, I read the first 2 books, wherever those books may be. I actually don't know where they're at. But I read the first 2 books in the Edens series, like literally, I think in 2022. Like, I didn't even read them in 2023, and then I never continued on with the series because I think when I started it and read it, there were only 2 books out, so now the series is complete. I was looking at my physical TBR and I was gonna read another Devney Perry book, and then I was like, no, you might as well finish the series that you started. So I then went into, I think it's called Garnet Flats, yeah. So I read Garnet Flats, Jasper Vale, and Crimson River. Every single one of these got a 3 stars, and to bring up the conversation that 3 stars is not a bad rating, I just think that these books are so quick, they're easy, they're no brain power. I really enjoy them. I don't feel connected to the characters at all though. Like the romance, like I never think about these characters unless I'm reading the next book and then they pop up. But sometimes you just need those books. Like I really, really appreciate those books as well, where it's like I really want to read, this is going to scratch that itch. I hate that saying. Does anybody else hate that saying? Try to think up another, you know, instance that kind of gives that same vibe. Anyway, scratches that itch of like reading, but you don't want to like have to really, really think about something. You know what I mean? And I mean, I don't think that going to those books, but they just are. The next book that I read that I don't have physical copy of either is The Wishing Game. Now, I really wanted to read this, and then I watched Haley's Best Books of 2023 video, and she read it in there, and it really got me to do it, and I borrowed it from Libby, and I read it, and I loved it. I gave this book a 4.75. It was so close to a 5 star. So close, but it just didn't give me that 5-star feeling. That's the difference between a 4.75 and the 5, is that you just get that feeling with a 5-star, and this just wasn't it. But I still really, really loved this book. It is so endearing and magical. It is the magical realism. You're following a teacher. She's like a teacher's aide, and there's this little boy that she wants to adopt, but she just has a really hard life, and she doesn't have the things to adopt him, like the income, housing, and stuff to adopt him. And her and this little boy have the best bond, and basically they bond through these books. And the author then does this thing where she goes to the island with the author. I mean, it's this whole entire thing. The setting is so magical, and just, it really reminds me of like, then I think is it in the dedication? Like, it feels like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It says that in the dedication, I think something about a golden ticket. You can tell it's very influenced from that. I'm trying to think of something else. Like, it just feels very like kiddish, storybook-like, and I just really loved it. It was so cozy too. Like, and I feel like this time of year you want those cozy books. Also, the subplot of romance, 8 it was like crumbs, but I just really, really loved it. Like, it squeezed my heart and I cried. Like, I was so into all the characters and the storyline, and there's like little missions that they have to go on, and it was emotional, it was healing, it was just such a sweet book. I'm gonna be annoying and just let you guys know that I did in fact finish House of Flame and Shadow in this month. I do have a full spoiler reading vlog going out for it that I think I'm planning to go out either the 7th or the 8th. I have to look back at my calendar. I'm trying to give people some time, and still, like, when people are really thinking about the book, I'm really trying to time that out. So I have like full, you see me read the entire book, but I guess that's unfair for those of you who don't want to watch that because you haven't read the book yet. So should I say the rating? Should I say my rating for it, guys? Because I don't have it on Goodreads. I really had to sit on it and really think about it after reading the book. Okay, I'll say it. I'll say it for those of you at home who were yelling at your screen. Please, please say it. I gave it a 4. And that is not a bad rating, but I know that some of you at home may be like, a 4? I thought that this was going to be a guaranteed 5 stars. Fun fact, I actually wanted to start in January, like this book ends when I find a 5-star read, but I was like, that's kind of unfair because I know at the end of the month, like, this is going to be a 5 star, so maybe I should start it in February because I wanted to see how long it takes me from the beginning of the year to find a 5-star read book. And I thought this one had it in the bag. Like, I was like, oh yeah, like, I maybe I shouldn't even like have that count towards it. And it was a 4 star for me. I want to keep it simple because that video is coming out, but I also know that some of you aren't even there yet and you may want to know my thoughts before going into the book. I'll say a few select things. A lot of info dumping. Some things fell short for me. I got really mad at a lot of things in this book. Still is, you know, a Crescent City Sarah J Maas book, and I still love it. And that's all I'm going to say about it for now. That is everything. That is everything that I have to tell you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed yet another wrap up. I feel like I completed 18 books, 20 books if you count the DNFs. That's crazy. That is definitely insane for me. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you guys did, you guys know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff that you guys want to do. Let me know down below what you guys read in January, what your favorite reads were, and just general thoughts that you guys have. Whatever you guys want to comment, really. I don't know why. I will start telling you guys, like, let me know what you read in January. Let me know what you thought about this video. Let me know this. Let me know that. And then I'll just go on, and then I'm like, really, just comment whatever you want. Whatever you want is fine with me. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys when I see ya. Peace.